Being in the military taught me a lot about discipline that I will forever be grateful for, because the person I was in 2019 and back then to the person I am today is a completely different version of myself that I'm proud of, that I respect, that I admire. I admire myself as a human being because of the things that I've done and I've been through and achieved and have gone through. And I wasn't always that way. I used to be the typical young adult, young male that would snooze the alarm a few times in the morning before waking up, sleeping in, sleeping late at night, sometimes not even sleeping, going out and partying, drinking, smoking, all the typical things that we do when we're young adults, and having fun and still confused as to what life really is and what it means to be disciplined. I was doing those things. And then fast forward to today, I've been able to take what I love, which is health and fitness, and help other people achieve goals in their life that they're wanting to achieve when it comes to their health and fitness and discipline. And I would have never ever imagined that I would have been in that position years ago. And today, when I look back at the choices that I made, it makes sense why I am the person I am today. Because back then, I was very insecure, and a lot of people didn't know that about me, especially the people that I hung around with, because that was always something that I kept to myself. I never opened up about my insecurities or flaws or anything like that. I always tried to play it off like I was the cool kid, but deep down, there was just an empty void that I couldn't fill. And I always had this feeling that there was something more to my life than I was working for at the time. And that's why I decided to enlist, because every other option at that point in my life did not seem like the kind of option that was going to actually make me into the person that I wanted to be. I didn't want to go to college right after finishing high school. I had a shitty GPA, I had shitty grades, I had no idea what I wanted to do in life. The last thing I wanted to do was go into debt to go get a degree that I probably would have regretted later on down the line. And the fact that I even thought about that at that age and made that decision, I always look back and thank myself for that, because I don't even know where I would have been if I did that. But I was lost. I was insecure. I had no direction. So my decision to join the military wasn't really out of bravery like most people would assume, or other I was some strong individual for doing that. No, I do love the country. I did love America. I knew I wanted to serve people. I knew that was part of it. But I mostly joined out of fear. I joined out of insecurity. I joined because I was lost at the end of the day. I joined because I felt like I had no other option. And I didn't even know I didn't know what life in the military was like. I just knew that it was bigger than myself at that time. It was bigger than just a degree or education or learning a trade or anything like that. I just knew that it was a big commitment, and something that most people weren't doing. And I feel like that's what drew me to that a lot, was the fact that most people weren't doing that. And I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be the person that was doing the things that most people wouldn't, out of insecurity, out of fear, out of feeling lost. And it turned out to be the best decision I ever made. Because as soon as we got to boot camp, reality set in, right? They take your phone, you have no contact with your family or friends or whatever unless they write you letters. You're waking up early every single day. It was 4:30, 3 o'clock maybe we were waking up every single day, making your rack, which is your bed. Everybody looks the exact same. You all get your hair shaved. You're all robots. You're stripped of your freedom. When you go to boot camp, especially in the Marine Corps, which is the branch that I was in, you are stripped of your freedom. You are not an individual person anymore. Everybody is one. If one person messes up, everybody gets messed up. And that taught me a lot about life and being disciplined and doing the things that you don't want to do in order to sacrifice for a better future, because you knew that if you did something wrong, that everybody else was going to pay the price with you. And there's a lot of stories I can get into about boot camp, but it changed something in my mind and my life about what it means to really be a disciplined individual, what it really means to do the things that you don't want to do. And I started to have a lot more self-respect as time went on in my career in the military, because I was doing these things that, again, most people would not do. Most people didn't want to do. You didn't even want to do it at the time, but I was doing them. And I felt great. I felt like I was accomplishing something. I felt like my sense of purpose was a lot bigger than myself, which is all I wanted to feel at that time. That's all I wanted to feel. And then, I went through my whole career. Things happened, which I'll get into in another story, in another video, but things happened. But I went through my whole career, met some amazing people. And one of the things that I'll always remember about my time in the Marine Corps was I was always in the gym. Always in the gym. After boot camp, I wanted to be that strong guy. I wanted to be that guy that people respected. I was always working out. I wasn't eating the best. I was eating chow hall food every day. And for those of you who don't know, the chow hall is where you get your food in the military. Like, it's like a cafeteria with, depending on where you're stationed, the food could either be dog shit or it can be, luxury for you. But that was my life, doing a bunch of operations, because I was attached to a specific unit where we would do operations. We'd go out, sleep outside, camp outside for weeks at a time, get nasty, get dirty, get wet, like all the inhumane things you can think of. I wouldn't even say inhumane, but things that were necessary for the accomplishment of the mission, which I will forever be grateful for, by the way. Like, those times in my life where I was outside, wet, nasty, days at a time, haven't cleaned myself, haven't showered, those are the days that I will always look back on, because those are the days where I felt so miserable. But then when it was done, I would look back and just laugh and be like, I did that, we did that. The people that I was around, we did that. And I will always respect myself for that, for being able to endure that, because a lot of people give up. A lot of people check out. I never checked out. I was close to checking out at some points, but I never really fully checked out, because I was always thinking about what an accomplishment it was to do stuff like that. And I don't want to go on a super long tangent about my time and the stories, because that can be a very long video. But I want to go into also how that part of my life and that decision transferred back into the real world, into the civilian world, because I'm obviously no longer in the military. I'm a civilian now, or veteran, whatever you want to say. And I carried that structure outside of there as well. I carried a lot of that discipline. I like I said before in the video, work out every day, wake up early, do what I have to do to be the best version of myself. And that allows me to look in the mirror and have more self-respect for myself than I ever would have thought that I would ever have in my life, and actually be proud of what I've accomplished. I actually look back and say, I did that. And whenever I hit a roadblock in life, or whenever I hit a setback, even though it's very easy to fall into despair and dread, and I have a few times, and I'll tell you guys that story in a later video, but for the most part, in certain situations where it's easy to fall into despair and dread, I just look back at the things that I did when I didn't want to do, and that allows me to keep moving forward. That allows me to have a sense of direction in life. That allows me to guide other people and help other people who don't have that direction, who don't understand what it means to be disciplined. And I don't want to just say be disciplined and like, I'm not gonna be that guy, but having discipline and the ability to do the things that make you uncomfortable will allow you to respect yourself to such a degree that other people will see it and they will start to respect you in return. Because at the end of the day, if you do not look in the mirror and say that you can respect yourself, how do you expect other people to respect you? And a lot of why I felt lost and invisible is because I felt like people didn't respect me. And I don't say that in a narcissistic or an egotistical way, but at the end of the day, as humans, we all want to feel respected. We all want to feel like we matter. And that experience allowed me to carry certain things into my life today that make me feel like I matter. I'm able to help people. I have a purpose in this world. People are coming to me and looking up to me to guide them to become better versions of themselves. And I say that to say, like, if you are somebody who is feeling lost or, like I said before, just no sense of direction, no sense of purpose, the very first step is to do the things that you know you need to do that you don't want to do. Because all it takes is stacking wins after wins after wins after wins, and you're gonna have some losses in there, all right? I'm not saying I'm perfect, and anybody that's telling you they're perfect is lying to you out their ass, because that is not true. We can only be as perfect as we can be. We're all humans. We all sin. We all do things that we feel shameful for. But at the end of the day, it's about being consistent in the things that make you very uncomfortable. And that's the first sign to feeling respect for yourself. Because at the end of the day, we all want to feel respected by other people. But I believe that the biggest form of respect is yourself. It's how you carry yourself in the world. It's how you present yourself, how you take care of yourself and your hygiene and your body and your mind and your soul, all those things. How you take care of that is how you present yourself to the world, and people will feel that. People will feel that. I don't even want to use the word aura. I don't like that word, but people will feel the aura gravitating out of your body because of how you present yourself. And that first step is becoming a disciplined individual, becoming somebody worth respecting. Because listen, this is gonna ruffle a lot of feathers, okay? But I am not of the belief that just because you exist, you deserve respect, all right? Because there's a lot of people who exist that do very bad things that should not be respected. Or I really believe that you have to earn your respect in this world. I'm not saying that you should be treated poorly, right? Like, people should treat you with kindness and courtesy and things of that nature, but respect is a different thing. And we'll talk about that in another video. But respect is a completely different thing from like kindness. And like, I don't think holding the door open for somebody is respectful. I think it's kind. I don't think like just being kind to somebody in a conversation is respect, right? I think there's a different degree to that. But at the end of the day, the most respect you're gonna get is from yourself. And once you can find that self-respect, it'll start to show up in the world. And you'll start to see that it's actually freeing. You have freedom to show up in the world as your authentic self. And people are gonna gravitate towards you. Some people are gonna gravitate away from you because that's just the way of the world, and that's okay. But for the people that you want to be around, for the people that you want to attract in your life, it starts with you taking those steps and becoming a disciplined individual. Somebody who at the end of the day, when the future is not certain, right? We don't know what the future is gonna hold, but living like you have something to look forward to. That's it. That's to me, that's what discipline is boiled down. It's living life like you have something to live for later on down the line. That's all it is. Living with intention, living with a purpose, living with again, like just believing that you have something to look forward to in the future, because you do. If you play your cards right and you do the hard things every day, you will have a future worth living. And that's what discipline is, living in that manner. I don't want to keep saying the word, so I'm gonna cut the video here. But again, for those of you who are feeling lost, like you have no direction in life, start by living like you have something worth living for. And I promise you things will change for you, because I was there before. I was there. I lived like I had nothing to live for, and I was miserable. And then when I started living like I belonged in this world, like I had a future worth living for, that's when everything changed for me. And now I'm able to help other people realize that as well in their life, and see positive changes and live a life worth living for. So I'm glad to be back posting these videos again. I'm going to talk a lot more about my military experience and the things that it taught me, and fitness still, but mostly about personal things. So if you want to see more of that, subscribe down below, leave a like, a comment, say what's up. Let me know what you guys want to see later on down the line. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Live like you have something worth living for. It's the most important thing.